You doing it or am I?
We're done. We're on. We're living.
Okay, well, that's no way to start it. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Is this a Kerfuffle podcast or is this a serious one?
This is a Kerfuffle podcast. We'll be asking difficult questions. We'll be challenging Mr. Knight, but we will also be irreverent at the same time.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
And you're doing it from the toilet, I can see, David, but at least you put on the tie.
I'm at home. But on that note, did anybody see the screenshot of Peter Knight's conversation with Seth Godin the other day? Peter was pictured against a lovely bookshelf, bookcases, as was Seth. But now we get to speak to him in his garage. Well,
actually, it was funny enough. It was yesterday I had the podcast with Seth, and it was a case of how on earth am I going to be able to top that and end the week in an appropriate way? Well, there you are. And well, here I am. What can I say? Seth Godin on a Thursday, mince and whale on a Friday. I tell you, the weekend.
A mince whale sandwich. Well, okay, let's kick off straight away. So what we're here today, Peter, and thanks again for joining us, is we obviously want to get the idea from you. I guess you're pretty relieved now. You've made the decision to take it all digital. When did you take that? You left it as late as possible, didn't you?
Well, certainly we left it late. Yeah, we started planning for it, of course, as COVID hit. But we took the actual sort of firm decision probably about 8 weeks ago, where there was just too many variables. And it was like when the government announced that actually events could open up from the 1st of October, there was a moment where I thought, I've got this completely wrong. You know, it's like everyone's going to be desperate for a physical event. We could have done it 8th of October. We could have been the first. Well, wouldn't that have been amazing? But I'm not saying I've got it. By the way, I've got no bloody crystal ball. It was just fortuitous. But we just felt there was too many potential variables. So we decided to go all in.
What would have happened, though, if you're there, what are we now? It's 3 weeks away. And then the rule of 6 comes out. We wouldn't have been talking to you today, would we?
Well, no. I mean, I feel really sorry for so many other people as well, because, I mean, so many people have been affected now by this change, on a personal level. It's my mum's 80th this year. I've got a 92-year-old stepdad. They've got a party planned on the 31st of October. That's all going to go to cock. My daughter's getting married in December. That's all gone to cock. And those, that's just my life. Everybody else's has been affected. So it is a pain. But we were, look, you sometimes. One of the biggest lessons from this period I've taken came from the former chief executive of General Electric, and he said basically there's 2 things that you have to do. He said you've got to be decisive, but you've got to be patient. And what he meant by that was work out in advance the decisions that you need to take, but only take them and implement them when you absolutely have to. And I think that on this occasion, by the way, I wish I'd learned that 40-something years ago, because that would have been really handy. But on this occasion, we basically planned for both options. We worked out what was it going to be, and in the end, we said, right, we're going to go for it. And we've properly gone for it, as you've seen. In terms,
I would say, would you say it's a fair comment that your offering actually in the virtual offering is so much more. You're able to do more with it over, say, a 7-day period than you would be able to, because people get access, don't they? Once they buy a ticket, they've got access then for sort of 7 days. Now, just to give you an idea of some of the numbers, and Peter, I'm sure you want to know that I've been listening to every word that you've been saying, but you've got 15 world-class business speakers, 25 industry experts, 8 of the best agents in the UK, 5 from Australia, 46 sessions across 4 screens, an amazing virtual exhibition, TV studios in Manchester. I'm hoping that was my invite there. Sydney and London. I mean, this is a massive production. And in terms of scale and scope, the only person I think that has been as ambitious as you in trying to cram as many speakers as possible into a very short time frame has been Sanjay at Sanjfest last year. But given that you've got 7 days of access, this is superb, isn't it?
Well, thank you, David. Yes, and look, we had 3 options, broadly speaking. We could either have cancelled it and or postponed it, as I think some other events have said that they're doing. We could put it on, sort of like a Zoom, YouTube type thing, or we could go for it. And we took the decision to go for it. And there were several factors determining that. One was the numbers of suppliers that we work with who, want the opportunity to showcase all their innovations and products. And what's been amazing during this lockdown period is it's given people a lot of time to innovate and to create new products and services. And I know, Whaley, you've been going through your top 40 list, and some of the stuff which has come out is extraordinary. Right. But also, I think that agents need to equip themselves. We're titling the event the next normal, and that's because I believe passionately that we had the old normal, that's gone. We've got the next normal, that's not here yet. We are currently in the awkward bit in the middle between the two.
Good point.
But we need to make sure that people are properly ready and geared up for the next normal, and that's our goal. And so what we've done is we've assembled that lineup. And David, it's amazing. Actually, it's funny. With Seth Godin yesterday being announced, it sort of pushes some of the others back. But we used to have Josh Fegan would have been the main turn. I've had to say to him, you're just the fluffer mate now, which is.
I think once you've been a guest on
the Josh, I actually, Seth is your warm up. Actually, we both know that. But we've not just got Josh. We've got 4. We've got 5 from Australia. Now, normally, someone like Alexander Phillips when he came over. With his demands, Peter, yes, thank you very much for inviting me to EA Masters. Yes, I will be requiring a first-class return ticket. Emirates already had only. Very good of you to offer to put me up. I only stay in Claridge's when I'm in London. So when you've got that sort of stuff going on, right? Luckily this year we haven't had any of that, and genuinely what it means is that we can hopefully, we will be delivering way more content than we could ever have done before. And we've got speakers, literally, we've got 2 from the United States, 5 from Australia, several from Manchester. So it's truly international, clearly, Sydney, New York, Manchester.
So, Peter, can we go through them? Let's start with the biggest turn of all. We mentioned, shamelessly name dropped him a few times, and you just couldn't have got him, in all honesty, at a normal event, could you? Because the likes of Seth and the fees that they dictate, their availability more than anything means that these people only, go phenomenal rates in the wider world. So to be able to get him at an event like this is an opportunity, isn't it? Now that it is digital.
Very much, Simon. And I mean, look, it's still eye-watering. I actually calculated that on the basis of the time that he's investing into our event, if he was to do that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and let's give him 7 weeks holiday a year, so he does it for 45 weeks, right? He would earn $90 million a year. So it's not, But when the first quote came through, I said, he doesn't know he's not flying over and spending 3 days here. This is like a half-hour gig. Yes, he does know it's a half-hour gig. Anyway.
But I think what you've done is you've realised what Whale realised about a year ago, is if you want bums on seats, you need a headline act that's Jewish, and that's why you started.
Oh, of course. Well,
it's always going to come back to your people, isn't it, David? Stop.
Hey! Look, there's just a disproportionate number of us that have done well. That's all it is. All it is.
Yeah, well, there is a theme, because our brilliant marketing speaker Grant Lieboff, who's spoken at our events before, is also from your community, David, and he's one of the he is extraordinarily individual. But look, Seth Godin, it's fantastic. I had a wonderful conversation with him yesterday, which of course I'll be name dropping like mad. When I was talking to Seth, but I had a great chat with him, and he. What was amazing about it is that he just came across as such a charming person, and I was so pleased because I've read, if not all of his, certainly most of his books. I've seen him present several times, on his blog and so on and so forth. And you feel like you get to know somebody, don't you? But of course, when you actually meet them, sometimes it's a bit different. And obviously I only met him via Zoom, but in the 20-minute conversation that we had, what came across was super intelligent. Extraordinary mind. But a really funny guy as well, and a good guy, and I enjoyed. I came off the call going, I was absolutely buzzing, and I just thought, what great prep for Mince and Well, and that was.
He's a great speaker, and he's engaging, and he's one of those rare types that does well across a range of different media. So you can listen to him and you can watch him and you can read him, and it's all as good as each other.
I mean, the first thing is anyone who obviously hasn't heard of him, easiest way, isn't it, is going and listening to some of his TED Talks. Short, 10, 20 minutes. If you're not convinced just on the back of that, I'll be surprised. But for those people that don't know Seth Godin, why should they come to listen to him, do you think, is the best way of summarising it?
Well, Seth is he's been. I love that they have these things in the United States. He's in the Marketing Hall of Fame, and I think he's the inaugural member of the Marketing Hall of Fame. And quite frankly, quite right as well. He was probably the one of the very, very first people to understand and get the internet. Basically, I mean, he sold his business to Yahoo, and he became the head of marketing for Yahoo. This is before Google existed, right. So he's an absolute internet pioneer. And not just internet, of course, the whole digital area. And he's got this incredible ability to keep ahead. And he'll be 60 this year, so he's not a young hipster. But boy, when you hear him speak, and I mean, he is absolutely on it in every respect. So, an absolute pioneer. And what I think he's managed to do is he gets this combination of people. He gets the combination of people and tech brilliantly well. So he understands the dynamic, and so I would actually say, Simon, the most digestible way to get to know him is to go on his blog. And if you just type into Google Seth's blog, right? I mean, it's amazing. In fact, if you just type in Seth, you'll probably get him. Over 6 million people a day get an email from him with his blog details. It's free, as always. These things are, as is mine, by the way. I mean, there's 6,000 to get mine, but he gets 6 million. So some way to go yet. But that's probably the most digestible way and simple way. And and then of course he's written so many books. Purple Cow probably being one of the best known. I came across. I was given this one, which is
that's like the Madonna book that sat on the news table for a while.
He can barely lift it on his own.
Well, I did actually show it to him. Of course, obviously he's seen it, but I just thought I'd just show him, the depth of my research. And he said, I said to him, I've been doing a bit of revision, Seth, prior to meeting you today. I have to say, though, this does not make for the easiest bedtime reading. And he said, I am not liable for any injuries caused by reading my books, which is great. But look. Ultimately, we are in a Grant Lieboff, fellow member of your community, David, who I've already mentioned, the marketing expert. Grant Lieboff said on one of our webinars, COVID-19 has changed nothing. It has accelerated everything. And we can debate the first half of that statement, but I think the second half is absolutely a given. Sure. And then what we've got is a situation. One of the reasons we're going for Seth Godin is because I think if there's an individual who understands what not out there in the future, sort of 20 years from now, but what's going to happen in 2021, 2022. Yeah.
That's the hard thing of all, isn't it? Not looking futurology, jetpacks. That we can all do that, but actually, what's going to actually hit? What is the cryptocurrency, the blockchain bit that's going to genuinely make a difference?
Well, hang on, you've got David Wood. You've got him down as a futurist.
We have,
and I was hoping that he would have a time machine that would take us into a time beyond COVID and Brexit, when all that was left is just a kerfuffle pink bobble hat and a mask. I had the words "I told you so" scribbled on them.
Well, David is one of the Property Academy's speakers, and he does do that longer term stuff. And he's got a really interesting history as well. Actually, he was one of the co-founders of a piece of tech called the Scion, which was a forerunner of the iPhone, really.
All right.
That was the little thing. I remember that.
Yeah. And that was his business. And at one stage they were, well, basically, they had that. There was the personal organizer. There was the Palm Pilot, and there was the Scion, and those were the two. So they went head to head. And basically, as with all these things, you have a bit like Android and Apple. You get a fan of one. You get fans for one thing. Yeah. Anyway, David is a futurist, and David will be looking at longer term trends. and talking about, and some of his predictions of the past have already come to fruition. So he's got good form in this respect. So we wanted to bring him in because what we're trying to do is cause people to realise that actually you've got to, this change thing is happening continuously and at a pace that I've never seen. I've been in this industry 40-something years now. And and I've been through a lot of changes, but boy, it's on steroids at the moment, and therefore we've got to make sure that we're taking account of those changes. At the same time, we also have to keep our feet on the ground, which is why we've got so many practitioners. So we've got 5 Australian speakers. Josh probably needs no introduction, but for my money is the #1 frontline estate agency coach in the world, not just Australia. I put Josh #1 in the world when it comes to frontline estate agency coaching. We're bringing Fiona Blaney over. Fiona's a great mate. Fiona used to actually work for John D. Wood in London, and so gets the UK lettings market extremely well. She has a number of UK clients, but she organises ARPM, which is the biggest property management and lettings company in Australia. And then we've got 3 practitioners. So we've got David Hyland of Hyland Property. In my opinion, David is probably the best presenter of properties for sale and to let that I have seen in the world. The attention to detail of his presentation of properties is extraordinary. We've got Ruma from Northwestern. She's just a real amazing people person, one of Josh's clients. And then we've got Matty Hayson, our old friend from Cobden and Hayson, who.
Simon, look at him. Simon gets physically overwhelmed when you mention Matty.
Yeah, he's fun.
So again, this is what's extraordinary. We've got 5 of them, but we've also got some really great UK agents as well. It's not all about just international. So we've got some really top UK agents. Spencer Lawrence, of course, from Paramount, who you know well. Which we've got Samantha Hossack from TLC. She's in charge of property management at TLC, and we're looking forward to seeing her. And then we've got in the 2X stream, sponsored by Kerfuffle, I hasten to add, just to make sure that everyone knows who's paying for this.
Platinum sponsor.
Platinum sponsor, absolutely. We've got one of the panelists there is Richard Palfreman from Northfields. And that's principally because Richard runs a very tight ship. I mean, let's face it, Richard is just very tight. So and he runs a very, very tight ship. And in all seriousness, one of the big lessons from this awkward period in the middle, is how many agents have realised just how much money they were wasting. And I know, Simon, you've been looking at this probably more than anybody else, with the huge numbers of suppliers that they weren't fully utilising or even utilising at all. So a combination of people like Spencer and Richard who have really, really drilled down their costs and gone into them in microscopic detail, I think will be really, really, even though most agents have done that, I believe there's still, as Dale Norton would put it, there's still some lemon to be squeezed to get the extra bits out of it. And that's very much there. So we've got 8 UK agents on different panels, and plus a whole raft of suppliers. 46 sessions. So it's
Peter, you just mentioned lemons, and one of our famous friends, Peter Clark, another Aussie, has just popped over. Evening,
Peter.
Well, yes, it is, Peter. Great to hear from you again. Hope you're really well. Just for now, it's going now. It's not really working for me. I change by the day. Peter, you mentioned streams there. Do you want to just explain the actual format of how that's going to work? So, actually, I mean, it's not just the scale of it. You can't actually get your head around, is it? Because it's not like you've spread it over 4 days and then you've got simultaneous streams going on, haven't you? Do you want to just give us how it's going to work on the day?
Yeah, so we've got 4 streams, and so basically, what it means is that you can only watch one bit of content at a time, unless you've got a time turner. But so in essence, you don't have to select just one stream. You can dive between them if you wish to. So we've titled the streams. One of them is titled Leadership. Very much focusing on what it says, does what it says on the tin, really. What are the real leadership issues? So, for example, Roger Martin Fagg, our behavioural economist, will be speaking in that stream.
Surely that's a name that needs rebranding in this day and age. It's not as PC as it could be.
Well, yeah, I suppose it has got a different connotation.
I'm going to leave you to think about that. This is why I've not been invited as a
At least he's got the Martin in there, because I mean, just Roger Fagg would have been awkward, wouldn't it? But Roger, let's face it, Roger's played a blinder. In March, he actually called the V-shaped recovery in March. And that's exactly what we've had. The July figures 6.6% up. Exactly as within a smidge. He called this in March, and so really interesting to have him back and to have him talk about the actual ideas for 2021. So we've got people like him in the leadership stream. We've also got in the leadership stream Kate Cox, who's the head of marketing for Moneypenny. And she's had an extraordinary career, and she's going to be sharing leadership from a marketing perspective. And let's face it, Moneypenny, are just such a brilliant organisation. So and many others. The second stream, we're calling it marketing. I mean, these titles could have been there's a lot of overlap, but it's basically we're looking at all sorts of different marketing initiatives and marketing ideas that we can put out there. And of course, there's so many new products and services that are being provided there. So we've got some really great marketing related speakers coming in for that. The third stream, which of course is the platinum sponsors, is Kerfuffle, is we're calling it 2X, and that stands really for how to double your profits. And the theme is via profitable partnerships. So the two bit works in both ways. You're going to double your profits, and you'll double your profits primarily by a combination of utilizing the best tech out there and the best outsourced services. And I'm absolutely convinced when it comes to future-proofing for another pandemic or another black swan event, partnering with others, taking some of the risk is a vital component. Brilliant. And then the fourth stream is masterclass, which is basically the practitioners. So that's where we're going to have the 5 Australian contributors, plus a lot of other UK agents as well, sharing what is good. This is where this is where the actual sort of delivery piece is. In other words, you've got all the theory, which is great, all the sort of future stuff, which is great. But what actually have people been doing? What are the things that are actually working right now? And that's what Masterclass is about. Now, Simon is going to be presenting across all 4 streams the top 40. So Simon and I have gone through a cracking, just a huge quantity of options and tried to distill it down to just 40 of what we think are the most important new innovations, services and products. And so Simon's going to be doing 10 in each of the streams. So you're going to have to watch him on catch up 3 times at least.
Are you going to be doing this sort of the two of you like smashy and nicey running through the top 40?
I've already bagged Fluff Freeman style for my part of it, but no, this is good. Whaley's flying solo on this one. We'll do a great job, I know. So we've got him doing that, and that's going across all 4 streams. And I tell you now, David, I've been privy to some of the things that are coming through, and some of the innovations and some of the new products are absolute. I mean, game changer is such an overused word, isn't it? But some of them, I don't know what else to say. They properly are. So we've got so many new things being launched there, which is great. Of course, I've got to mention that the whole of the event would not be possible without the support of our principal partners, Rightmove, who have been extraordinary, and they will be giving.
Peter, how many years is that now? They've been with you. It's got to be best part of a decade, isn't it?
Oh, it's over a decade, Simon. Yeah, I'd say it's probably 12 years. And what was brilliant about Rightmove was when we said to them, look, we're worried about going with the physical event. We don't think we can. We want to go digital. They went, great. We're here to support you in every way we can. And they just went all in. And so they've been absolutely brilliant. And they've also this year again. For the 4th year, helped us to create the Best Estate Agent Guide and the Best Estate Agent Guide Awards, which we will be announcing on the 8th of October. And we're not publishing a shortlist this year. There's just not been the time to be able to do so. We've been massively condensed. And we didn't want to do mystery shopping during the COVID period, lockdown. It just wasn't appropriate. So we've changed that aspect of it. We are doing some mystery shops. It's a smaller number. It's really just to determine the overall winner of winners, as opposed to the whole piece.
So it's not going to be like sports day at school where everybody gets a badge, whether they came first, second, or third. It's just
David. Let's just tell you again, you haven't won. No.
Listen, actually, this could have been my year. My A-level results. If I got my A-level results this year, my predicted A-levels were superb. Let me tell you.
Well, yeah, actually, truly, the results aren't complete yet, so I can't say whether David is or is not in the guide. Look, the guide comprises the top 20% of branches and roughly the top 3% of brands. So 80% of branches aren't in it, and 97% of brands or agencies aren't in it. So there are numbers because there's a lot of estate agents in this country.
Hey, listen. That's okay. I tell you one thing it's done, and this is across the board. Yes, you do get a little bit miffed that if you don't get one of Peter Knight's baubles every year. However, what it does is it automatically raises standards, because when that phone rings, you think this might be Peter Knight calling to mystery shop me. And so you make sure that so there are certain innovations that people have. I mean, we did this as a direct result of Peter's grading of our agency. I think this is probably going on for 3 or 4 years ago now. We got Moneypenny, so that, calls that were being missed are now being answered professionally. You start to up the quality of getting back to people. We used to have the system where, if somebody emailed or requested a viewing on Rightmove, you may pick up the phone to call them back. But quite rightly, Peter said, well, there's a reason why they've emailed you. They would like a digital response. So you start to adapt your business in that way. So I have, Simon, don't be cynical about this. I have taken
David, I tell you what I'm laughing at. I'm laughing at you. So, we're not going to do this for our clients. Fuck them. But for the awards, we will invest all our time, money.
I'll tell you what, as agents, and we've discussed this on this show, and it's a theme of many different property podcasts. But as agents, we live in our own little bubble. We don't often see what good world-class customer service looks like, and it's only when you go out into the outside world. So your equivalent will be booking a holiday. So if you book a holiday and you're treated amazingly well by a bespoke boutique travel service, that is very different to the wham bam thank you ma'am sort of service that you may get at a mainstream travel agent. So I think it's all about fine-tuning that service, and sometimes you need to be turned down by Peter Knight 3 times on the run before you get it right the 4th time.
Oh gosh, when the final results come in, David, your firm will be the first that I shall be having a look at. But look, here's the thing. I tell you what I can say based on the first sort of cut that was done, and that is that the once again the gap between the best and the rest is widening. And so what we're seeing is the better agents are just improving, really in significant margins, and the rest are just sort of just there.
That Pareto theory really stacks up, doesn't it, when you look at it in terms of.
I just laugh at Graham Wilson's comment here. For heaven's sake, Peter, just give him a bloody award. Well, I'm sure we can.
Thank you, Graham. You're a very sensible man.
Member of that community.
We'll do that. Yeah, look. Ultimately, I know there are critics out there of awards and so on, and I get that. The prime reason why we set them up all the years ago, we did almost 20 years ago. The reason we did it was to give the best an opportunity to actually distinguish themselves and to differentiate themselves from the rest. That was it. I was fed up of media criticizing all estate agents when actually there were some really, really good ones out there. So that's why we've done it. We now assess every single branch that is on Rightmove, every single one. We assess any others that apply who are not on Rightmove can apply, and then they have to submit their data to us so that we can analyse it. We have a number that do that, and then basically we so over 3 billion pieces of data are analysed. But we're not here to talk about that today. It's part of the event, it's part of the show, and it's going to be a major factor, I think, for people in 2021, because they're going to need to differentiate themselves and say, look, we are we've been assessed by Rightmove and the Property Academy as being the best, agents out there. So, those who see the value in it will take part. Those who don't won't. And that's
exactly, and that's always been the point. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me name checking him, but Carl Tatler always made me laugh because he like we when I was at Repeat. First year you go in for the awards, and you're the best. So it's only a matter of time. It's going to walk up on stage, get the award. Famously, my old colleague, Peter Fennick was putting on his jacket as they announced silver, and then announced TM training, and Julian O'Dell walked past us as we vomited, and we set ourselves up, the next year and said, how did this happen? How did they not see our magnificence? Our magnificence, and Carl Tatler did the same, didn't he? He knew he had a great business, but he challenged himself, and he actually went around those winners that he saw at your awards and just looked at what was different there. So as a direct consequence of, yes, what on the face of it might be perceived as an almost a vanity exercise, the business itself made itself into, without a shadow of a doubt, that area's best agency. And they subsequently went on to win 2 of your biggest awards at the Sunday Times, which I think was unprecedented, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were one of the first. There's very few that did the double. Romans back in the day did the double as well, and Carl Tatler did the double. And I spoke to Carl actually the other day, and when he said that he made you laugh, he makes me laugh, but often unintentionally. But there you are. He's a good bloke, Carl, and he runs a good business. And in fact, he wrote me unsolicited. I think perhaps the most wonderful testimonial I've ever received, actually, and. He was involved on our summit program, and he's been fully engaged. And he said to me, for the first time ever, he's been able to take months off work, and whereas before he was just completely and utterly stressed out by it all, and now he's got a really good business and running accordingly. So we've got that, but ultimately, what is our goal? Our goal is to equip people for the next normal, right? We want to give them all the tools, the research documents. We've got the home moving trends, landlord and tenant surveys. 34,000 people took part.
Let's talk about that, Peter. I actually think this is probably one of the most underappreciated elements you do. That in itself, as a white paper piece of research, that should be the start of your year's strategy going ahead. You should be sat down with that, looking at not what your perception the public wants, because it's laid out there in black and white, isn't it, in terms of the research you talked about.
And what we've done this year is for the second year running, actually, we've engaged Data Loft, just the brainiest folks in a state agency, present company accepted, of course. But they're properly brainy, and they've done the analysis for us of the data, and they've been slicing and dicing it in some really interesting ways and looking at different demographics. And it's what's really marked this year, because I've seen the results. I got them literally this morning, so I've not had a chance to study them fully. But what I've seen already is a massive difference between the younger generation's attitudes to estate agents, whether it's towards fees, whether it's towards reviews, whether it's towards high street presence or not, whether it's towards portals, and so on. Big gap widening. And of course, those so-called younger ones, the 30 to 35 range, which is the younger range of homeowners now. They're the ones coming through to the next 5 years in terms of being the major client base, with getting married and having kids and all the other things, that the life stages that prompt moves. So it's important to study what's happening. But here's what I'll give you a kerfuffle exclusive. Shall I give you a kerfuffle exclusive? Yeah. Okay. We ask every year about fees, and we ask, to what degree is it important? And we give, in previous years, we've given a list of, 20, 25 different reasons as to why you selected your agent. Or you can, if none of those are right, you can write your own. So we've been giving them every option. And every year, they've picked things other than fees. I mean, there's always been a handful that pick fees. But of course, then people say, and not in our area, and it doesn't work for us, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, God. So this year we thought, right, how can we expand on this? So we said to them, you can choose 5 things, right? So you've got the list of 25.
Oh. Right. So you can essentially, you can get all elements that are important to you.
Yeah, you pick 5. It's like pick and mix in the old Woolworths. You didn't have to just have sherbet lemons. You could have your licorice, all sorts as well, right? So you could have that's where I used to go thieving as a boy, Whaley, if I remember
I
right.
like the fact you obviously had to tell a food analogy because you were talking to me. That was what I liked.
Okay, can we get back to the Bertie Bassets here?
Yeah.
Where does we?
So so basically we encourage them to pick 5 different reasons. Okay. So and the top reasons are all between 75 and 80% of people pick the top 1, 2, and 3 reasons. Okay, which I'm going to hold back until the till the 8th of October. But what I can tell you this, right? The fees didn't even get into less than 1 in 5 people picked fees when they had 5 different options. So it's not to say that fees aren't a factor. Of course, people want to pay as little as they possibly can. But I repeat the message I've repeated for 15 years that we've been doing this: fees are not the reason why they appoint an agent. And of course, what happens is that agents say, "Oh, that we get told you're wrong." We get told. I go, "Okay." So have they ever actually phoned you up and said, "I've gone with the other agent because I trusted them more"? Have they ever said that to you? Or actually, I've gone with the other agent because I didn't like you very much, but I liked them. Right? I mean,
all the time.
So it's those are the real reasons why people pick one agent over another. It's principally back to, do they like them, trust them, and feel that they were the right agent for them. And actually, the marketing of their property is massively important, which is why David Hyland coming over for the event is such a big deal. He's basically so good at the presentation of property, which is what the consumer tells us is absolutely fundamentally important. And again, what's amazing now is the tools that are available. If you look at things like 360 Giraffe as an example, in terms of this is technology just blows my mind, and how easy it is to operate. 2 buttons, press on, press thing, leave it alone, bang, done. I mean, it's just amazing. So we've got the tools now to be able to market and present properties beautifully well, and that is where I think we're not in the sales and marketing business. We're in the marketing and sales business. And I think the marketing piece is the key element, and that's what the research shows. So we're going to include that. That gets included in the workbooks. And by the way, everybody will get either a hard copy or an electronic copy of the workbooks. And if you saw last year's workbook, it was a massive production, and we're doing the same thing again. And I've got to say it because you haven't asked me it, but I'm going to say it. All of it, the whole thing, under 50 quid. Right, the whole thing under 50 quid.
Tremendous value. And I understand that there's a way for people to sort of interact with suppliers almost face to face, isn't it?
Yeah, very much, David. We're trying to create. Look, what we're not trying to do is pretend, right? I'm afraid we cannot go for a beer in the bar with Whaley afterwards. First year in 15 years, I've not been able to do that. I mean, it's a shocking ambition. I know. Anyway, apart from that, though, right? What we can do and will do is we're going to be able to engage people directly. So they're all the suppliers will have effectively like a booth. There'll be people in the booth. They'll be able to come out of the booth. In all of the booths, there will be downloads, white papers, videos, resources for them to pick, competitions, prizes, stuff to win, free merch, lots of free merch, not just in Kerfuffle,
free merch, virtual
free merch. And they can make appointments directly. There's going to be potential for roundtable sessions within the platform. And the platform is available for 7 days afterwards. So, one of the key things we're saying to people is, yes, go to the conference. Yes, hear the great speakers. Yes, of course, you're going to want to hear Seth Godin. You're going to want to hear Josh Vegan and others. Of course you are. But also, make time for the exhibition, because there's truly so many good things in there. I always remember Paul Mackay of Sarah Maines when we used to go to NAR. And I would trot off to all the different speaker sessions, Malcolm Gladwell or Marcus Buckingham, and I'll be on there. And I'd meet up with Paul at the end of the day. Where have you been, Paul? And he'd been in the exhibition. And he used to spend probably 80% of the time at NAR in the exhibition. Yeah. And at the end of the time, I'd come away with lots of inspirational ideas, pages and pages of notes, loads of things. He came away with about 25 things that he could rip off and duplicate and put into his business. Yeah. and a big lesson to learn there, which is spend some time doing that, and then you can watch the program, watch the sessions on catch up. Look, as I said, the ticket, the best ticket rate we've got, it comes in at £49.75p, right? So that's that's basically the rate. It's the 199 rate for 4 logins, so you can get 4 people in there for under 200 quid, under 50 quid a head. And you can either go 1 per stream. You could do that. You can dive around, or if it was me, what I'd do is I'd make sure that I've got 1 person at any point in time in the exhibition, going around all the different suppliers, seeing all the products and services, and when you've seen the top 40, I'm sure you'd concur with that.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're going to want to, and it's not like this is what I think is going to be great about this one. It's not like where you get out of, if you're there at the live event and then you want to go out. Actually, what you want to do there is just have a drink and a moment there. So it might not have been the perfect time to go around the stands. You haven't got that challenge anymore, and the fact that I think you're putting in the place, you can actually book in times to go and see people to have a meaningful conversation, can't you?
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the platform a week before the event so that people can plan. They can make appointments to see different people. They can, they can get their profiles put up there, and and trying to make it a networking act. Of course, it's not the same. I get that. I get it's not the same as a physical event. And obviously, we very much hope we can return to having a physical event next year. Although I'm convinced that it'll be a hybrid.
Yeah, it's going to be blended. I mean, you've been kind enough to obviously show me what you're planning. Mind you, it wouldn't have been the first time that I've signed up for something without knowing what the hell it's about. I needed Kerfuffle to advise me, to be fair. But what you've got planned there is genuinely is going to be the future. It's not trying to do, a live event digitally, which is the biggest mistake I think most of the others go for. To have some kind of blend of what you're doing when it all returns to whatever normal is definitely going to be the only way. And I think the main point, as well as I'm not being funny as well, that price point, it can't be a barrier to anybody serious about doing it. And look, I know the biggest challenge you've got is obviously people like David in the middle of it's so busy at the moment, and I can't take a moment off there. But because you've got that Netflix ability here, is get the ticket now. Worry about when you're going to be able to watch it and get
£49.75 and no queue for the toilet. That is your headline.
Yeah.
That's your headline.
And coffee as you like it. And the other thing, David, every seat is front row. So there's no sort of, we don't have the EasyJet rush, where I won't mention. So there was one particular estate agent who used to make me die. He would always he never bought VIP, but he always used to position himself exactly just the other side of the room. So he was like in the first, like on a plane. He's looking at the curtains as things, which always, every year he did the same thing. I thought, hats off to you, mate. Fair enough. But no, I mean everyone's got that ability, and I think the thing is, look, I get how busy everybody is. Of course I do. I mean, crikey, it's extraordinary. Our members are reporting volumes I've never seen, or they've never seen before. I've got one member, very, very, very good business indeed, that's got 6 offices. One of his offices would normally do 80,000 in August. That's his average, and he's been in this town for about 15 years, maybe more.
Yeah.
He did £247,500 net by the 27th of August, right? And he still had 4 days to go. I haven't called up with him since. And he's not alone. I mean, the volumes, and of course, the consequence of that is that I know that many agents are just too busy to do anything. Okay, fine. You can make one day, right? You can make one day to set up your 2021, to get yourself ready for the next normal.
You need to. It's not a question of if you're going to do that. Otherwise, you're just presuming that everything's going to continue as usual, and that's why you get a feast and famine mentality, isn't it?
Completely. And look, Simon, we're going to, the platform's going to remain open 24/7 as well for the 7 days. So it's one of those where you don't have to sort of think, oh, I've got to be there at 9 o'clock. If you want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and watch it 2 or 3 hours before you go to work, you can do that. If you want to come home, open a beer and just sit there, and other beverages exist. Open a fizzy water and watch a couple of sessions. You can do that. You've got 7 days to be able to digest all of that content. But the one thing you won't be able to do is collect all the stuff that's only available on the day, which is why the exhibition is really important. Because genuinely, I was chatting to Repit today and to Sandra Pretorius, and they're sponsoring the actual Seth Godin session. And Sandra was saying to me what she's got planned in terms of the downloads and the white papers. They've got an amazing piece of research that they've done, which they are going to make available on the day. And they're not alone. Genuinely, we're going to have, I would estimate 25 to 30 unique pieces of content that have never ever been published before available on the day. So it's like going around with your swag bag of virtual stuff and downloading all these different things. And of course, the other advantage is what we're going to also be doing is getting people to imagine their businesses with all of this stuff. So we're going to show some practical applications for it. It's not just highfalutin gadgetry. It's going to be, this is how you can actually run your business. And I'm giving 4 talks, one in each of the streams. And in the 2X stream, what I'm going to be talking about is actually showcasing how these things can, how you could potentially outsource your entire estate agency business other than the market appraisal.
Yeah, which has to be sacrosanct, doesn't it, by definition?
Well, that's the most important moment in the estate agency, and that's the bit that where you need to have your absolute A-star players involved. But what we've got is so many options now to be able to either supplement or even replace certain aspects of the estate agency business. So it's great to see. Luke Sinclair says he's in. That's great to hear, Luke. Nice one.
What's the best advice for preparing? You mentioned there to get 4 of your team members, get one sat in each of them, or is it more like a it's almost like a glass? It's like an estate agency Glastonbury, isn't it? You can
Simon Bradbury, who's one of the king of conferences. Let's face it, Simon's been to an awful lot of conferences and a great supporter of ours. Simon has bought. He's got a bigger business. He's bought 12 tickets, and so he's invested £600 in the 12 tickets. And what he's done is he's basically already started to plan with his team who's going to do what. He's given them all the day off, i.e., they're only going to attend the EA Masters. He's organising them drinks and snacks and things to be delivered to their various places, whether they're in the office or whether they're at home. He's also organised, to have catch-ups during the day with different team members, and each team member at the end of the day is going to give a presentation on the 3 big things for them in terms of it. Now, I reckon that's a brilliant approach to take. If you've got a smaller business, that's 4 people, you divert your phones to Moneypenny for the day. By the way, Moneypenny have said that they will happily take on board new clients just for the one day only. If people want to do that, they're very happy to.
That's isn't it? That's such a good idea. That is to do that.
So clever of Moneypenny, isn't it? They've just said, look, enjoy it. We'll answer your phones, and they've got a special deal for that day, and take full advantage. I look, of course, I'm biased. It's my event, and I'm bound to say that I think people should go there. But I'm going to say this. There's nothing else this year actually. So all the other events have been cancelled or postponed. We've gone for it. We're going to provide you with the best content ever seen in this country, with the most extraordinary lineup. This is not a year for us about making fortunes out of it. Far from it. What we want to do is make sure that we deliver something of true value to the industry from a supplier perspective and from an agent perspective, and help people get set up for the next normal. Because everyone's been through it. Cracky, my business has been through it, and I know yours has. And suppliers, by the way, haven't been immune either. I know a lot of agents will be watching this and thinking, it's right for you. Well, no, suppliers have had a pretty rough time as well.
Even principal partners have had a tough time. If you were to read the newspapers today,
well, of course, yes. I mean, and it's interesting, isn't it? How that fact came out that actually they've played a blinder by comparison to their international counterparts. Of course, some people are never satisfied, and look, it's probably a road I shouldn't walk down.
Well, to be fair, David and I, because of course where we lead, finally the industry catches up. But David, you highlighted that international report, didn't you, in one of our podcasts earlier in the year, which did state quite clearly that they had been the most generous of all. After the initial faux pas, let's say, ultimately they gave the most value back.
They did, and I think. It's not about necessarily what you give; it's the way that you give it and the way that you handle it. And I think that it's not befitting to address this in depth over here, or for Peter to comment on it. But I think that they have had to learn some lessons this year, and hopefully they will learn more about communicating with their agents and getting a message that resonates well and shows that they have a bit of empathy.
I think. I get to deal with some of the folk there, and all I can say, David, is there are some extraordinarily talented people, and also people who properly passionately care about this industry, and so it's very easy to sort of amalgamate them into this sort of body and treat it as one. I think they know that if they had their time again, they would have handled it differently, no question about it. But this is ultimately right. Ultimately, what they're doing is they were founded by estate agents. Let's not forget that it was estate agents that founded them, and therefore estate agents have had the opportunity to invest if they wish to into this business all the way along. And if you take our Australian friends, I don't know if Clark is still on, but if our Australian friends will tell you what they end up paying in portal fees. They pay per property per month.
Yeah.
And they pay $1,1200 per property per month.
Insane,
and so look, the point is that what we've got is whether you're a fan or not, you can't ignore Rightmove. And the bottom line is I declare my loyalty to them as a business on the basis that they've supported my business, and I think that they've supported
good for business.
So I've got that bias. But what I do know is whether you like them or not, you can't argue with their knowledge and wisdom and authority. And Clark is here. He said it's insanity. He goes 1,000. Yeah, exactly, Pete. I'll tell you now, the Australians would rip every UK. They rip their arm off for the Rightmove rates down under. I can tell you that for now. But look, they're going to showcase a whole load of new research as well. That's the point I was trying to make. And so what we're going to see is the latest insights from their understanding of the consumer in a post-COVID way. And our home moving trends report, we also managed to get in COVID questions as well. It's one of the reasons we left it really late. And I have to say it's been a bit of a, to quote Fergie, a bit of a squeaky bum time with the amount of stuff that's coming together at the last minute. Best Estate Agent Guide, Home Moving Trends, Top 40. 46 or so.
He's ambitious, if nothing else.
So the top 40 sorted. You've got Mr. Attention to Detail on it.
Yeah. That was why I was going through it with the fine tooth comb last night, Simon. But anyway, the point is, we want to give people every possible tool and resource to enable them to make their own decisions on how to run their business in the next normal, and that's the goal. And if Avengers Assembled was a sort of a pretty impressive cast, then I like to think that EA Masters is the estate agency equivalent.
Well, I've just posted up on the different links. Best way to get to it, isn't it, Peter? Just go to eamasters.co.uk.
That's the one. Thank you, Simon. Yeah, that's where you'll find it. And look, if any of your viewers or listeners, if they're just listening to this, want any information, if I can help in any way, genuinely, I'm very, very happy to be contacted directly. It's pk@propertyacademy.co.uk. Just ping me an email, and I'll be very, very happy to answer any questions that anybody's got. And we're keen. We just want to give people the opportunity. If they don't want to come, that's fine. I get it. That's the one. If they
got a problem there now, Peter. David's got it. He's not going to stop haranguing you now.
Well,
come on. I'm not going to send. I won't send many nudes. Maybe one a day. Something candid.
There you go. Yeah.
Until I get that award.
You don't get this on Stephen Brown's show, do you?
Actually, I did Stephen's the other day, which was great actually, and it was. No, you're absolutely right. It's a different hosting experience.
But you know what? In general, there is now a good variety of different podcasts available. Going back 2 years ago, there wasn't. You'd scratch around, you'd find a little bit of a podcast here and there. But now British, UK property agents in the industry here, they're stepping up. They're providing certain, material and content. I think it's superb.
Well, it's why. Look, I mean, when I look at our very first lineup, right, and I don't want to mention the names because they're good. They were good people who gave their time and contributed. But I look at our very first lineup in terms of speakers, and I look at the lineup for the 8th of October, and it's just, and that's because in the same way that if the Better Estate Agent Guide has helped to raise standards in estate agency, so all of the events, the standards have risen. All of the podcasts and other marketing methods have risen. COVID-19 has accelerated all of that. Yeah. And it's the same. It's the same for what you guys are doing, as much as it is for me, and indeed all the agents that are watching. We've all had to up our game and have to continue to do so. And you take you broadly speaking, fall into two camps on this. You can look back and go, oh, I wish we had the good old days where, or you can take the view and say, you know what a bloody opportunity we've got here to really, really do some great work and to do some great things. And I tell you now, I'm the most excited I have ever been. I can remember about the amount of stuff that is just happening. The amount of news. I've never seen so much new stuff. Normally at the EA Masters, we'll have one or two things. I think, oh, that's bloody clever. I can't wait to showcase that. That is going to be absolutely, that's going to be the thing that people take away. Genuinely, this year, I mean, it runs to. It's a very, very long list. And the way things have developed in the letting space, which is extraordinary. The whole move away from just a sales focus to a property management focus.
Didn't you think it was interesting, Peter, when we went through that amazing number of entrants, that the majority were from a lettings thing? I don't know if we didn't discuss this earlier, did we? But as we went through, I was just struck that how much. Off the top of my head, it would probably be about 60-40, maybe 70-30 is coming from that area. Just such fascinating innovations. And let's face it, when you first started, the lettings one was very much the smaller brother, wasn't it? By the end, you'd stop the Sunday Times. They were very much equal, weren't they? And I don't know. I think it shows its value, obviously, in the market today, doesn't it? Where it's up to.
I remember in 2007, I took Peter Fuller, who was then the lettings director at Romans, and his team to La Manga. And we had 5 days down there. And we never saw a golf course, by the way, because that wasn't the Roman style. Basically, it was just like, right, you go to one of the world's greatest golf resorts, and we're going to stick you in a dark, air-conditioned room with no windows for 5 days, and you're going to work. Anyway, that's what we did. And I remember saying to Pete and his team, and at the time, lettings was without question the poor relation of the business. And I said, what would it be like if Romans Lettings was the number one part of Romans by any and every measurement? And they said, what do you mean? I said, number one in turnover, number one in profit, number one in client satisfaction, number one in employee engagement, all the other key metrics. What would that feel like? And I think he thought I was barking. And one of the things that I'm most proud of in terms of the work I've done. And bear in mind, when I say I've done, they did the work. I was their coach, and I was going in there every month to assist them. But they did the hard yards. Was they achieved that, and they're not alone. There are other companies. Spencer Lawrence's business, Paramount, fantastic. Spencer from one office has now got 1,500 properties under management, and he's got the average tenancy is 46 months. And he's got his own. He's diversified to have his own property maintenance business, which is not only servicing lettings clients, but is also now available to service homeowners as well. I mean, there's so many examples, and we're going to share these, as I say, on the 8th of October. But the point is, Simon, you're right. Lettings has absolutely exploded, right, in terms of its importance. And I said 12 years ago on the stage, and I remember afterwards I got ribbed for it. I said, this industry is going to change from sales and lettings to lettings and sales. Yeah. And I got it wrong. I should have said this business is going to change from sales and lettings to property management and sales. Because I think it's the property management piece which is the real opportunity, not just letting properties, but owners' properties as well. So anyway, we're going to talk about this in much more detail on the 8th, and indeed there'll be people superbly qualified, i.e. proper practitioners like Spencer, like Samantha, who are going to share their insights. We also got people like Deborah Richards from Madison's in Tunbridge Wells. Well, a great marketer. She came out of the city. She was from corporate.
the one that does scarcity to that rather extreme a level?
What's that?
Doesn't she actually?
Yeah, one of the things Deborah does, I mean, there's many things about her business which I really like, and her new website, which Starbury have just built for her, is absolutely exquisite. But one of the things that Deborah does, which is brilliant, she go on a market appraisal and she charges 1.75% as a standard fee. And she says to them, of course, if you do choose to go with another agent, that of course is your prerogative. But when you come back to me because they haven't sold it, my fees will be 2.25% because I've missed the first opportunity.
David, if you don't do that at your 2:30, I am going to be very disappointed.
Talking of which, let's crack on. Thank you very much, Peter. That has been very interesting. I look forward to receiving my award in the post, and also the location of the Manchester studio. I'd love to stop in and share my insights on the day.
So you could do your own super spreading. Brilliant, David.
Excellent. Well, I shall bear that in mind, of course.
Can't wait, as usual. Obviously, we'll save the drinks for a separate day, but it's going to be an amazing event as ever. Let's can't wait to catch up with it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Lovely to see you.
Bye bye.